Hello, this is Mike at Gamefromscratch, and today we're starting a brand new series called Steam Powered GameDev. The entire idea behind this series is to look at game development tools that are available on Steam. If you've looked, Steam is increasingly getting more and more game development stuff, running the gamut from art creation tools, animation, script writing, up to and concluding full game engines. Over the course of the series, we'll be covering a number of different technologies. Today, however, we are starting with a product from Mixamo called Fuse. One of the big reasons why we're going to be focusing on Steam for game dev tools is they quite frequently have really good sales. Most recently, I picked up Fuse for 75% off. Fuse retails for about $100. The version so obviously I got it for about 25. As to what Fuse is, a little bit hard to explain, but basically it's a 3D person creator. If you ever used Poser, it's very much like Poser, except without the posing. That'll make sense in a few minutes because it actually ties into Mixamo, which is an online animation software. The pricing structure behind Fuse is very confusing, so this is one of those things that we're going to talk through in a little bit. There's also a free version available on Steam. The biggest difference between the free version and the not free version is the amount of content included. The non-free version includes almost nothing. We'll see it shortly in terms of what the commercial version consists of. The other big part about the commercial version is you actually get 2 free rigs a week. So it refreshes every week. You get 2 more auto rigs. I am such an incredibly slow art guy that 2 a week is pretty much keeping up with my work schedule. We'll look at that all in a minute. Let's go ahead and launch it up. Let's go over my library. And this is Fuse. One thing you're going to find about Fuse is it's actually incredibly easy. If you have no artistic ability, you should still be fine with Fuse. It's impressively easy. In fact, if you've ever worked in any game that has advanced character customization abilities, Fuse is very similar to that. Here's your main interface. There's really what you see is what you get. You can toggle a few things like the rendering styles. You can undo, you can move the camera, and that's about it. So what it does is very focused, and what that is creates character. So as you can see over here, these are the heads available. Now, if you get the non-free version, you literally get about 1/10 of what's here. So let's go ahead and create a character. One of the recent things they added was the cartoonish characters. But let's just go ahead and build a skinny zombie. So you just go in and pick the pieces you want, and it automatically goes to the next body part. We're going to go ahead and create the full zombie using that entire set. So we want the skinny zombie male. Oh, it automatically puts the suggested piece at the top. Male skinny zombie legs. And male skinny zombie arms. So there is a very basic character created already. At any time, you can flip back in, switch the body parts out if you wish, or you can take the default as it exists. Once again, you can toggle on the meshing. As you can see, the mesh isn't actually that hyper dense. It's a clean mesh, game appropriate. And then once you've created your character, and you can do all these different settings, then you can go in and configure it. And here you have control over just about everything you can imagine. You go down here and you pick the actual body part you want to work with. So right now we've started the arms. If you wanted to do the face, you could do the face. Here, let's put it back to textured. In terms of performance, I'm running this on a 2013 Razer Blade, which is a reasonably current Haswell processor and a GeForce GT6. I should remember my own processor. It's a medium range DX11 GPU. So if you have a computer from the last year or two, this is about the performance or better that you should expect. It's a fairly quick to run application. Picking the body parts is quite slow for some reason, but once you've got things selected, it's fast and responsive, as you can see. It uses the standard controls. So left is your orbit, mouse button scrolls in and out, middle button pans. All right. So as you see, now we've got here. We'll zoom in on the face. And using controls, you can now alter anger level. You can change the eyes, lips, and so on. So again, it's a lot like almost any game style character creator. You can do macro level, like quite literally, you can customize to whatever extent you want. You essentially can end up with just about any character you want as a result of these simple settings. I won't go into it to too much detail. Let's change his teeth up a bit. Okay, give him an overbite. Oh, and you can also, in real time, modify it this way. So say we want to pull his bicep in or out. And you quickly compose your character using this. Let's give him a bit of a gut. All right, so there is our 8-month pregnant zombie created. You have a scary amount of customization opportunities here, but you got the gist of what you're doing. So next up, what you do is you go in and you set up your clothing. So again, the basic version comes, like the free version, which you should start with. Try it for sure to see if what you want. But it comes with a lot less in terms of outfits. But you come in, you basically dress your character as you would expect. I'm going to keep him rather shirtless, so let's just go ahead and give him some pants. Let's give him a pair of jeans. And it auto sizes to what changes you've made. Now, let's see, what else do we need for him? Give him a pair of sunglasses. All right. So there's a very basic, easily created character. You can customize to the nth degree. Now, the next thing is here. Oh, a key concept. What you're seeing here is what is included in Fuse. Now, one of the first things you're going to think is, well, this is kind of useless to me if I'm just limited to what they've got. You know, they've got a fair bit of stuff in there, but you're never really going to want to add props, weapons, different clothing, armor, chainmail, you name it. And there's a decent selection, but it's not. Let's go back into tops, for example. It's limited fairly fast. So if you're making, say, a medieval game and you need a bunch of different dresses and such, right now you have maybe 3 or 4 applicable choices. And then you can customize the color and change, but you're still going to want to bring new stuff in. And one of the things that really made Poser powerful, and one of the things that is very applicable here, you can bring in your own props. In fact, you can bring in your own models. So if the basics that they provide don't do it for you, you can actually create your own. Ditto for bringing in the stuff you need that will populate your game. So if you do want to, you're making a sci-fi game and you need to make all kinds of different outfits that are sci-fi appropriate, you can. Now, as to how you do it, if you go to the Fuse website at www.mixamo.com/fuse/import, they have detailed instructions on how to make characters, hair, materials, and so on to bring into the game. Essentially, you bring in a reference character yourself. So say you were making a body part. If you were making an outfit, you would bring in a character that you export from Fuse, and then you would model the thing over top. You set the maps up the way that they specify, and then you export it as an OBJ file. Pretty much every single 3D application ever made supports the OBJ format. It's ancient and it's simple, but really all they want is mesh data and UV data out. So it shouldn't be too much of a difference. But I'm not going to go into the specifics of importing something from another modeling program. Just be aware that you can do it. It's done via OBJ file. There is a definite process involved. It's all documented right here. But I have created something and brought it in, and it does work. Now, once you've done all this, you actually bring the item into Fuse via File, Import, and then the type of item you're bringing in. Now, substances we're going to touch on in a second. So now that we've gone ahead and we've created our zombie fellow, let's go over to the texture area. And like these jeans are far, far too new to be believable on a on a zombie. So let's select them. And you'll see over here we've got a pre-made material on top of our gene. And you can control, very important for a game, this used to be much lower, but you can control the texture resolution of the game comes out. So if you are on a mobile where you need to keep the texture count down, you can jack it down, or you can bring it up. I'll go ahead and create the new texture. All right, so now, actually I'll just keep it at 512 by 512, however. We want to age our gene slightly. Actually just go down and say wear level and just drag them up. The softness either down or up. We're going to apply some damage to the genes. We can add some dirt. Let's lower the contrast a little bit. A lot of grunge. Don't really need too much specular. So now you've got much more dirty zombie appropriate pants. So this is how you control the texturing of your item. Again, if you've used a game that gives you a lot of control, it's a very similar approach. And as you can see, the inputs are amazing. Like there's a ton of stuff here, and that's breaking it down. You can go into like the trim, change the trim levels. You can change the threading used in the jeans. You can, so it's pretty staggering the amount of control you can get, and it's actually powered by Substance. It's another program available, and they've made a partnership with them, so you can switch between the different materials down here, and they mimic real-world materials. So we'll stick with our pattern genes, and now let's go back to his skin, for example. We want to change his skin color, make him slightly paler. Do so. Now let's give him, I don't know, let's give him some lipstick. Like so. Bright red. There you go. So now our zombie has lipstick. You know, and you got control over pretty much every single item on this. So we should be able to change the textures up on his glasses, on his character, and so on. And this is essentially what Fuse does. It is simply a character creator. Behind the scenes, again, there's a pretty good, not overly dense mesh being created, something that is appropriate to game use. There it is on top of the textured. So that is how you create a character. At any time you want, you can go back and change out. Let's give him female. Actually, he's got pants on. That's not going to do much. Let's put him back to skinny zombie legs. This is where it's a little slow. This process of changing between them, it can be somewhat slow. So let's give him zombie legs. But if I wanted to change his arms out, I can, at any time, give him different arms, different settings, different everything. You can go back through the customization process anytime. You can flip out random, so you can just make massive changes all at once. But essentially, you use all of this process to create characters and pose a T-posed character for exporting. Now, what good is this character to you? Well, you had a few options. First off, right now, you can export it as an OBJ. Like I said, everything supports OBJ. OBJ is a very simplistic format. It's pretty much your polygon data and your texturing data, but it is enough to get it into just about any game engine you want. However, ultimately you're going to want to animate, and that's where this button at the top right comes in. This sends it off to Mixamo's service, and one of the huge values with buying Fuse, at least over time, is you do get 2 free auto rigs per week. Yes, per week. So, or 8 a month if you want to look at it that way. And those are pretty invaluable. I hate rigging. If you're relatively new to 3D, rigging is the process of creating a 3D skeleton inside of your model and then binding it to the mesh. Fortunately, Mixamo makes this available, and you get the 2 free a week. So let's go ahead. I've used one of mine, but let's go ahead and use the other one. Very critical, and you got to know this before going on, and this annoyed the hell out of me the first time I did this. In order to use Mixamo's online website, you need to have the Unity web player installed. It's available on Unity's website. I think it's just go ahead and you want this guy installed. The annoying part is, in Fuse, if you go ahead and you do your animate, you send it off to the web servers, it does the upload, it does everything for you, and then it crashes because there's no web plugin. It's very annoying they don't check this up front. So before you continue, if you are going to animate your model, go ahead and configure that first. So install that plugin, close down whatever browser you're using, reopen it, and then do the animate. So I've obviously already done this. Just click the animate button. You need to have an account, so register or whatever, and then upload. It's just going to send it all to the server. All right. As you can see, it's a bit of a count up. The models do tend to be in or under the 10 megabyte size, depending on how many things you set, how much detail you went into and such. But as you see, this particular model was 7.2 megabytes. So now this is sent it up to Mixamo's site. All right, I'm going to pause this in case it takes a while. I'll be right back. Actually, it only took a few more seconds. Another thing I would recommend is make sure that your site, your account on the Mixamo site is set up in advance of pressing Animate 2. So here you can see it's running in the Unity player on their website, and that's what it looks like there. It's rigging it in the background. Again, it'll take up to 2 minutes, so I'm just going to pause until that is finished. All right, I shouldn't have bothered. It almost immediately continued. So now it's loading it in. Okay, there is your rigged character in Mixamo. As you just created it, they've got the default idle in. You can switch between a couple here. Standard walk cycle. Like so, our strutting pregnant zombie. Your pan, rotate, and so on with the camera. You can, okay, this one's kind of key on how you want to do things when you export it. Fingers add a level of detail to your bones. If you're not controlling your hands, don't bother too much. I'll just do a simple fingers when we ultimately export it. So there you can see the results actually shown over here. So that will create 41 joints. 3 would create 49 joints, whereas just a paddle that controls the whole hand, 25 joints. You know what, I'm not going to use the hand at all, so we'll just go with that one. They also have a beta in here for doing facial animations. I believe there's a cost involved. I haven't really played around this much. I'm going to stick with disabled for now anyways. If you need to do the facial animation anyways, you can do it after the fact in your 3D software or whatever. So our character's up. It's ready to be rigged. Let's go ahead and update that. I'll pause this again. All right, now it's done. You can go ahead and you can download your rigged character, or you can add some animations to it. This is where Mixamo starts to get you. Mixamo is a pay-per-use animation system, so it's not going to be completely free. It can start, as you can see right now, we're getting 2 auto rigs, and an auto rig for the most part is all you should need because it will bring it into a format that you can then easily animate yourself in whatever 3D package you're using. However, if you want to add a simple animation for free, you can. Their interface, this kind of sucks because when you're on this one, you can see this animation sequence is available for free. These are all available for free. These are available at a cost. So you can see their pricing up here. You'll have to go to the website to get specific price, but our model's in, and now we can apply animations to it. There's, okay, 85 pages of these things. We're going to stick to just a simple free. Actually, they have a walking zombie animation. That sounds like a good one to apply. So as you can see up here, our current animation is set. to this character, and I'm going to add the zombie walking animation to it. This will bring us to an animation previewer. All right, there it is loaded. It took about a minute. I paused while it was running. Now you can tweak your animation slightly, and wait, like so. The process here, it can be a little slow, but you do have, here is a walking animation for a zombie pre-configured for us. You can queue up multiples. You start getting into costs eventually, so we'll stick with the simple basic premise here. So if you're not a good animator, you can buy animations fairly cheap from Mixamo and add them to your thing. The key thing is you had to have it rigged, and again, Fuse gives you 2 auto riggings per week. If you're using more characters, obviously that's going to cost you more money. Let me just pause for a second, give you the exact pricing. All right, and here you go. Here are the default pricing plans for Mixamo. And as you can see, it can start getting pretty expensive. But again, compared to the cost of a character animator salary, this is dirt cheap. And the results are actually pretty solid. They're probably better than most complete amateurs can do for sure. They have all-you-can-eat plans, basically. 120 animations for $500 a year. That includes Fuse. So if you're going to buy it, don't. So if you're going to go the indie route, don't buy Fuse on Steam. You can just buy it through them and get it this way in this package. Or unlimited, if you're doing over 120 animations, I suppose, you can do this route, or the starter package, which is, in my opinion, kind of crap for the price. Completely ignore it. Or again, you can just buy it Fuse itself, not basic, but full Fuse, for between $25 to $100, depending on sales on Steam, and then you get your 2 a month as it stands. So over the course of it, 2 a week. So even over the course of the year, that works out to 80 plus 16, so 96 a year of Fuse, if you're willing to spread it out over time, of course. Now your next option is a la carte pricing, and here's where you see where that auto rigger's value is. 2 free a month is $100 savings each time you put one up. That's pretty nice. Your animations are $15 an animation, or 30 for animals. Packs of animation, or you can buy characters from them pre-configured. That's completely separate to Fuse, and Fuse should actually make buying their characters somewhat less of a requirement. So anyways, these are the pricings you're dealing with. There's also monthly prices available, about 10% more as each price goes. And again, 10 animations a month versus buy Fuse on Steam, you get 8 a month as it is. So Steam suddenly becomes a very good way to buy this thing if you're willing to do your animations over time. So anyways, that's the pricing. Let's go on back to our character. So now we're done here. We've got an animated modeled character, fully rigged. Let's go ahead and download it with the full characters. Alright, so here's one I made. Oh, it's processing. Here is the one we just created. Go ahead and right here, you pick the format you want to download it in. I'll go ahead and use FBX. There's a number here. There's Collada, or DAE. There's Collada for older version of Blender. And then there's FBX. FBX is sort of Autodesk's internal format for talking between Motion Builder, 3D Studios, Maya, Softimage. Those are all, they deal with FBX. But also Collada is the industry standard, which is supposed to be pretty universal. I personally model mostly in Blender and animate mostly in Blender. However, the imports can be a little iffy. I brought in Collada before. It worked out quite well, except for the rig itself was slightly offset. This time I'm going to go ahead and use the FBX. So you just pick the format you want, and then you simply download it. You pick the frame rate, and you can reduce the keyframes if you wish. The last time I downloaded this, it came in about 8 megs. Yeah, so it did again. The cool thing is, let's close down the downloads feature. My characters are now, the 2 that I've already done, are here forever. So anytime I want, I can come back in. Here's one I did earlier. I can go in and edit it a bit, and then I can come back and just download it. Brings us to the exact same page. I can select a different format and bring it down. No cost involved in bringing stuff down again. So once you've created an animation, it's there. You can bring it down anytime you want. So if you really want, you can use Mixamo as your off-site asset storage solution if you really wish. Okay, so there's our FBX brought down. Let's go ahead and see it in the viewer. FBX Viewer is available for free from Autodesk. Or, of course, you could bring this into Maya or Max or whatever and see how it looks. It's in my downloads folder. It's walking to, and open it up. And as you can see, there is our zombie. And using the arrow keys, I can step through each frame of animation. I believe it said there was 120 total frames. And there you go. Game ready model, fully animated, and ready to go. Now, let's look at the results in Blender. Where's my Blender? There it is. Here's where it can get a little sketchy. Delete the default square. File, import, and then FBX. And that was in my downloads. And here we are in Blender. Alright, we seem to have a problem. So again, like I said, the importing can be a little... Should be fine. Alright, let's do a render, see what we get. Yeah, so we're not getting textured from our FBX. And this is one of your downsides. So what we're going to immediately do is go on back into the Mixamo site. We'll pick our zombie again. Oops. Okay, we'll download it. I'm not sure what I just did. I clicked something I shouldn't have. All right, so we'll highlight it there. And this time we will pick Collada and download. All right, and that came down zipped. So let's go into our downloads folder. I would be walking, I have no idea which one at this point. That guy. All right, so let's import it instead. Oops. All right. Let's start with a fresh scene. Import Collada, walking. There you go. So now we have a textured, rigged. Let's grab the skeleton armature here. Let's go into X-ray mode, and there you can see a fully rigged, posable, and animated zombie. So, as you just experienced there is going to be a bit of a format battle if you are using Blender or a tool other than from Autodesk. If you're using any of the big three from Autodesk, you should just be fine. As you saw from the import over here, it came in pretty much. It came in pretty much exactly as we expected it to. Actually, it looks kind of like crap there. It actually, ironically enough, looks better in Blender. But with a little bit of work, you can get it into whichever program you want. And now that it's here, you can actually quite easily, let's go into pose mode. Since they've done the rigging for you, you can now animate however you want and create the different poses, the different frames, the different... And now, that's way beyond the scope of this actual discussion, but it does show you the power here. If you want to bring in fully animated, fully rigged characters, this is probably the easiest and most effective solution I've found so far. The only real peer to it would be a product like Poser. But at the end of the day, Poser's meshes, I've never been a really big fan of. Whereas here, let me go ahead and select that. Go into edit mode. What have I got selected? Oh, I've got his pants selected. Pick something other than his pants. Body. Alright. Go into edit mode. As you can see, the mesh is pretty clean. It's not quads, so it's not going to be that fun to edit, but it is definitely a clean, usable, game-ready mesh. If you look up here, it says 16,000 faces. It's not extremely high. You could get that down if you want. You could do a simple simplify here, but it'll mangle your mesh. But it does create game-usable stuff, especially if what you're doing is creating sprites at the end result, because then your polygon resolution means absolutely nothing to you. But anyways, that is Fuse running, creating a fully rigged textured model and exporting it to whatever format you need, and then as you can see, fully imported into Blender and quite functional and game ready. If you need to expand the animations, of course, if you want to spend money, Mixamo has you covered. You could do all of your animations straight out of Mixamo and never deal with anything in Blender or anywhere other than probably to export to your game engine. It's an interesting package. Their pricing is kind of out to lunch in that they've actually made Fuse that's available on Steam a much better deal than their $500 all-you-can-eat indie package, if you can spread it out over time. Once you start doing more than those 2 auto rigs a week, you're looking at $50 for another rig. Then all of a sudden, that $500 package sounds pretty good. Or your all-you-can-eat package if you're doing a lot of animations in. Even then, $1,500 compared to the cost of outsourcing an animator, it's pretty cheap. Now the question is, are the animations up to snuff? I'm pretty impressed. You can go through and preview almost all of them at Mixamo.com. So that is our first look at Steam-powered game technology, and it is Fuse that we started with. I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks.